What if every trade-in conversation left your customer feeling respected, understood, and confident they got a fair deal, even when the number wasn't what they hoped for? What if you could protect your gross, build trust, and actually make the trade-in a tool for closing the deal, not a battleground? See, you don't have to beat up their car. You don't have to argue or defend your number, and you don't have to be the bad guy. So here's what you'll learn today. You will discover how to flip the script on trade valuation. Walk every trade with your customer, justify your numbers with transparency, and use every close, from condition to convenience, to keep the process positive, professional, and profitable. We'll go deep on every tactic, every phrase, and every mindset shift you need to master this critical part of the deal. You will become the pro they trust with their trade and their next purchase. Let's start with the biggest mistake most salespeople make when it comes to a trade-in, and I want you to hear me on this, because this one mistake will kill trust faster than anything. See, most salespeople treat the trade like it's a fight, like it's some adversarial negotiation where they've got to win by tearing down the customer's vehicle. Oh man, these tires are shot. Yeah, I see some scratches. That mileage is up there. This thing's been in an accident, huh? That's old school, and all it does is make the customer feel like you're trying to beat them up. The second they feel that, they stop trusting you, and now the whole deal becomes defensive. So we're going to flip the script. The trade is not a beatdown. Remember that. This isn't about devaluing their vehicle. This is about respect, professionalism, and transparency. See, a proper trade valuation is one of the best trust-building moments in the entire deal, if you do it right. Because think about it. Their trade is personal. It's their car. It's their money. It's their pride. They've got memories in it, and they've got emotions tied to it. And if you come in acting like you're about to expose everything wrong with it, you just became the enemy. But if you handle it like a professional, calm, clear, and respectful, you lower resistance, you keep control, and you set the tone for the negotiation. So why does this matter, and why does it protect your gross? When you do the trade the right way, you build trust, you lower objections, you reduce the "you're trying to screw me" mindset, and you keep the customer working with you instead of fighting you. And here's the part most people miss. Trust protects gross. When they trust you, they don't feel like they have to squeeze you for every dollar. When they trust you, they listen. And when they trust you, they stay in the deal even if the number isn't what they hoped it would be. Because you didn't make them feel stupid, you didn't embarrass them, and you didn't attack their vehicle. You guided them through a fair process. I want you to go into every trade with this mindset. I'm here to help you get the most for your trade, not to pick it apart. And my job is to transparently assess the true market value so you can make the best decision for your situation. That's it. That's the frame. You're not the judge. You're not the enemy. You're the professional consultant helping them get to the truth of the market. And when you master this, you hold your value. You protect your gross, and you leave the customer feeling good, even if the number comes in lower than they wanted, because they still feel respected and taken care of. That's how the professionals do trades. So, what's the hardest part of trading conversations for you? Hey guys, I know a lot of you have been wanting to get to the next level. What I want you to do right now is text me. This is my personal cell. All you have to do is text me who you are and what you need help with to get to the next level. So go ahead, text me right now, 205-952-6224, and I will help you crush it. As well, I got a bonus for you. Scan this QR code and get into our free community and unlock some courses for you as well. Let's crush it together. and let's get back to the video. All right, let's talk about trades the right way, because this is where most salespeople either lose trust or they set themselves up to protect gross and close the deal clean. First, understand how the customer thinks. See, most customers think the trade process works like it works at home. They go online, plug in the VIN, click a couple of buttons like good condition, no accidents, new tires, even if they're not, and boom, the computer spits out a number and they think that number is the value. So when they come in, they're not expecting a real valuation. They're expecting you to confirm the number they already have in their head. See, you're not doing a devaluation, you're doing a true valuation. Now listen close. When we walk the trade, we're not devaluing their car. Yes, what we're doing will bring their expectations back to reality sometimes, but we're not tearing it down just to tear it down. We're doing a true valuation, because the truth is the customer wants two things: to sell their vehicle for the most and to buy ours for the least. And guess what? We're doing the same thing. We want to buy theirs for the least and sell ours for the most. That's not evil. That's not shady. That's business. That's where negotiation lives. When you're working a trade-in, what do you struggle with the most in that KBB number versus the real value moment? Before you can negotiate, though, you have to know what you're negotiating with, and that starts with a proper valuation. The customer wants retail-ready value. So here's what the customer doesn't realize, though. The number they want is the retail-ready number. They want the value as if their car is detailed, serviced, safe, ready to sit on the front line and be sold to the next customer. But to get it retail ready, we have to determine the real condition, what reconditioning it needs, and what it will cost to make it right. So the walkaround is not to tear it down, it's the process of determining the truth. Condition plus reconditioning plus market equals the real value. And here's a huge principle. We only talk numbers with numbers in front of us. This is where professionals stay in control. See, we don't start throwing trade numbers around early. We do not argue about value in the parking lot. We don't do, well, it might be around, nonsense. We only talk numbers with numbers in front of us. So the walkaround is about gathering information quietly, professionally. So later, when we present the full deal, we can justify the value with facts. Which part of this trade process do you need to tighten up the most so you can stay in control? Now, why do we look at the trade right before they look at the replacement vehicle? This is strategic. Right before they go fall in love with the replacement vehicle, we walk the trade. Why? Because it brings attention to the things they forgot or didn't think about. Worn tires, cracked windshield, stains, dings and scratches, warning lights, and the maintenance that's coming due. Not to embarrass them, not to attack them, but to bring reality back into the conversation. And it also does something else that's powerful. It helps you create gaps and identify the problems. Because people spend money to solve problems, and they spend bigger money and move faster to solve bigger problems. So when you professionally identify the problems in their current vehicle, you can later bridge that gap with the replacement vehicle. This is safer, more reliable, newer, under warranty, has less maintenance, better technology, and fits their life better. That's how you protect gross on the trade and protect gross on the replacement vehicle. Because you're not selling a car, you're solving a problem. Now, I want you to always walk the trade with the customer. This is non-negotiable, period. Because when you walk it with them, you show them you're doing a professional evaluation, not just plugging a VIN into a computer. And the customer is far more likely to believe your number after a real walk around because now they've seen the condition with their own eyes. They start to own the reality instead of the fantasy that they got from KBB. Now, how do you do the walk around and how do I do it? First, I invite them the right way. John, let's take a look at your vehicle together, real quick, so I can make sure you get every dollar you deserve. I'm going to be thorough and transparent. Fair for you and fair for us. Sound fair? Then you go through it like a professional. And you're not just looking for dents and dings. You're looking for the whole, entire story. So what do you look for in the exterior? Walk around it slowly. Dents, dings, scratches, paintwork, windshield chips and cracks, the lights, the lenses, the mirrors, the tires with tread depth, uneven wear, and yes, mismatched tires. Then the interior. Look at the seats, stains, odors, tears, the radio and infotainment system. Yes, turn it on. Windows, locks, mirrors, the AC and the heater, blinkers and hazards. Then the moonroof. Yes, open it and close it. But make sure you ask the customer first because you don't want to be the one that opens it up and it doesn't close. They'll let you know if it doesn't work. And then sometimes it may not work when you first do it because they never use it. It'll happen. Under the hood, check the mechanics. And I do mean look. See, pop the hood even if you're not a mechanic. You need to look at it like a professional doing a real evaluation. So open the hood, look around, take pictures, start the car and listen. Turn the wheel and listen for power steering noise. Check for warning lights. Next is the maintenance questions. So while you're doing it, you're asking simple questions that give you ammo later. Any recent maintenance? How are the brakes? Battery been replaced recently? Any transmission work? When was the last tune-up? Any lights on lately? See, you're not interrogating, you're just gathering the facts and being thorough by documenting everything. So take pictures of anything that stands out, not to be dramatic, so later you can justify the reconditioning and the value. So why does this work? Customers start to see you as thorough and fair. They start to own the real condition of their vehicle. You build trust and lower resistance for the number you present later. See, you start to protect gross on the trade and the replacement vehicle. And you keep control because you're doing it in the right order. Facts first, numbers later. Now, this is the second most important part of the deal, right behind the needs discovery. Because if you get this right, the numbers presentation becomes a conversation and not a fight. Which part of the walk around do you skip most often? I want you to position yourself as an ally, not the enemy. So here's how you've got to frame the trade conversation. Because if you don't frame it right, the customer immediately thinks you're trying to beat them up. You've got to position yourself as the ally. I literally say it like this. Mr. Customer, I want you to know I'm doing this the right way to make sure you get the absolute most for your trade. I'm not here to pick it apart. I'm here to be transparent so you can make the best decision. See, that one frame changes everything. Because now they feel like you're working with them, not against them. And when they feel that, they stop fighting you and they start listening. So here is the true valuation close, not the devaluation close. Because when it's time to explain the number, I don't make it emotional, I make it factual. See, we look at four things: mileage, condition, market demand, and reconditioning costs. Based on today's market, here's how we arrived at your value. This is the absolute top value we can justify right now. Notice what that does. It makes it a process, it makes it fair, and it makes it feel justified, not random. Because transparency makes the number believable. So here are some trade justification details on how to make the numbers make sense. Number one, condition plus reconditioning. This is where you explain what it takes to make it frontline ready without sounding like you're attacking their car. Here's what we have to budget to make it retail ready. Tires are about $1,000. Brakes can be anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000 depending on what it needs. Oil change, around $100. If it's due for a tune-up, that can be $1,000. And then we've got a couple dents and dings, let's call it $500. See, that's not being negative, that's just what it costs to make it right. And if there's history issues, you keep it calm and factual. If there's a Carfax accident, the market hits us for it no matter how minor, typically around $2,000 per accident because the next buyer sees it and they want it lower than the one that didn't have an accident. And if there's no service history, we have to budget for unknowns, usually another $1,500 to $2,000. And if it's out of warranty, we also budget for future repairs because we're responsible once we put it on the front line. Again, facts, not feelings. Number 2, the market demand. I totally understand. Market matters too. Right now, large SUVs and trucks are moving fast. Some sedans and smaller SUVs can be slower. We have to price and value base on what the market is actually paying today, not what it was paying 6 months ago. When you're presenting trade value, what do you struggle with the most right here? So let's continue on to some other justification closes. Number 3, the auction and wholesale reality. This is where you can really anchor it. Let me show you something real quick. Here's what similar vehicles are selling for at the auction. This is the wholesale market. We're offering you top dollar based on this data because data doesn't lie. And if you've got a sheet, I love the flip the paper move. Here's retail and here's wholesale. We live in the middle of that. Then there's the what you owe versus what it's worth close. When they hit you with, I just want what I owe, you stay respectful, but you bring them back to reality. I understand that, and I'm not ignoring what you owe, but what you owe and what it's worth are two completely different things. If you owe $2,000, would you expect it to be worth $2,000 no matter what? No, right? Value is based on the market and the condition. Let me show you how we arrived at the top value of whatever that number is. See, you're not arguing, you're educating. Then there's the condition reality close. Your car's condition affects its value. For example, the tires are going to need replacing, and there's some wear on the interior. That's why we're at whatever number it is. See that short, calm, and matter of fact. Now you have the trade-in convenience close. Now could you sell it privately and maybe get more? Possibly, but it takes time, effort, and risk. See, you'll have strangers showing up to your house, test drives, scams, waiting weeks. See, what we're offering you is convenience, a hassle-free process, and an immediate value today. Now that's a real value proposition. Now you also have the big picture close. So when they're stuck on the trade number, you pull them up to the full deal. I hear you. You want more for your trade. That's totally fair. But let's look at the big picture. The vehicle you're getting, the warranty, the payment, and the overall value of the deal. Because my job is to structure this in a way that's a win for you. Because at the end of the day, you don't win by winning the trade argument. You win by keeping trust, keeping control, and closing the whole deal. Which close do you feel most comfortable using? This is where deals either stay smooth or they turn into a fight. Because for most customers, their trade-in is not just a car. It's identity, it's pride, and it's memories. Sometimes it's even a symbol of accomplishment. So when that trade number comes in lower than what they had in their head, they don't just feel like they lost money, they feel disrespected. They feel like you're saying their car isn't worth anything. And that's why this gets emotional. That's also why you can't handle trade justification like a robot. You've got to handle it with empathy and strategy. So, why does trade justification work and why does it keep you in control? Well, number one, transparency disarms defensiveness. See, most customers fear the trade process because it feels like a black box. They think they're just going to go in the back, come out with a number, and I'm supposed to accept it. So when you lay out the process, calm and professionally, mileage, condition, recon, market demand, auction data, it takes the mystery out of it. See, people fear what they don't understand. The more you show, the less they feel taken advantage of. Now it's not some random number. It's a number that makes sense. Instead of a black box, you're giving them a window into how car values actually work in the real world. Number two, involvement equals ownership. This is why I'm so big on walking the trade with the customer. Because when you do the walk around together and you point out things respectfully, tires, windshield, interior wear, service history, something shifts psychologically. It stops being, you found problems with my car, and it becomes, we're both looking at reality together. And once the customer sees it and acknowledges it, it's no longer you versus them, it's both of you versus the facts. That's how you avoid the fight later on. When trade conversations start getting emotional, where do you feel like you lose control the most? Now, number three, anchor it to data, not opinion. If you try to justify trade value with your opinion, you're going to lose because they'll hit you with, well, I saw online, my buddy said, or worse, KBB says. So you anchor it to data, auction comps, real market demand, and reconditioning costs. Then there's the Carfax impact. Here's what similar vehicles are actually selling for at auction. Data is hard to argue with, and when you show it, you're not justifying your number, you're validating it. Number four, reframe the conversation, payoff versus value. This is where a lot of reps get scared, but it's one of the most important reframes in the whole deal. When they say, I just want what I owe, you don't get rude, you don't get sarcastic, you get calm and clear. I understand that, but what you owe and what it's worth are two different things. The market doesn't care what we owe, it cares about condition, miles, and what they're selling for. See, you're not saying their car isn't valuable, you're saying the market has rules. That reframing helps them let go of unrealistic expectations and move toward a deal. Then number five, respectful reality checks. Help them see it like a buyer. This is where tone matters. You're not insulting, you're informing. Your car's condition affects its value. For example, the tires are going to need replacing and there's some wear on the interior. That's why we're at that short, calm, and respectful. You're helping them see their vehicle through a buyer's eyes, not just their own. Now let's look at the psychology, why they resist, and how you win them. So let me put this into plain language. There's loss aversion. They feel the loss on the trade more than the gain of the new car. That's just human nature. Your transparency softens that loss because it feels fair. Then you have confrontation bias. They came in with a number already, KBB, instant offer, whatever it is. Your job is to respectfully bring them from internet assumptions to the real world condition plus the market. Then we have to have the trust transfer, because when you're thorough and transparent on the trade, they trust you on everything else. Payment, warranty, fees, the whole deal. See, trade justification doesn't just sell the trade, it sells the dealership and it sells you. Next, there's reciprocity. When you take time to educate them and treat them with respect, they feel valued. And people tend to respond to that with trust flexibility, and yes, referrals. I had a customer come in one time with a KBB printout like it was a contract. He had a number in his head and he was locked in. Instead of arguing, I said, "Perfect. Let's do this the right way. Come walk it with me so I can make sure you get every dollar you deserve." We walked it together, tires, brakes, service records, and even a little door ding he forgot about. We popped the hood, checked features, did the whole thing. Then I showed him auction comps, explained reconditioning costs, and broke down the Carfax impact. And when I was done, he looked at me and said, "You know what? I didn't realize it needed that much. I get why your number is where it's at." He accepted the offer. The deal stayed clean. And the best part, a month later, he sent me his brother because he trusted me. That's what trade justification really is. It's not about winning the trade, it's about winning trust. So you can win the deal, protect your gross, and build a reputation that prints business. What's the biggest aha you've had about trade justification today? You want to see their problems, create the gap, and bridge it with value. Because these are the real reasons the trade walkaround matters. Because it's not just about getting to a true number. The walkaround is where you learn the customer's current problems and you help them see, without being rude, why it makes sense to move forward today. Because here's the truth. People don't spend money just because they want something new. People spend money to solve problems. And the bigger the problem feels, the faster they move, and the more they're willing to invest to fix it. So when you're walking their trade, you're not just looking for dents and dings, you're looking for the story. What have they been dealing with? What are they tired of? What are they afraid is coming next? What costs are stacking up? What stress is sitting in the back of their mind every time they start the car? See, that's the gap. So step one, see their problems without attacking them. You don't say it like, "Man, this thing is rough." You say it like a professional who's paying attention. "Okay, I see the tires are getting close, and I can tell you've been maintaining it, but those wear items are adding up." Or, "I see it's out of warranty now." That's usually when people start getting hit with the random stuff. Battery, sensors, AC, brakes, little things that turn into big bills. See, you're not insulting the car, you're acknowledging reality. Step two, create the gap and make the pain clear. This is where you help them connect the dots. Brakes, tires, maintenance, that stuff adds up quick. And the problem is, you never know what's next. It's not the big repairs that get people, it's the surprise repairs. Or, when a vehicle's out of warranty, you're basically self-insured. Even if you don't spend it every month, you need to be ready for it. See, most people are budgeting $100 to $200 a month in their head just in case something pops up. Now the customer starts thinking, "Yeah, that's true." So what's the biggest gap you see most often between a customer's current car and their dream vehicle? Now step three, bridge the gap with value. This is where you protect your gross. Because now you are going to connect their pain to the solution, your replacement vehicle, without sounding cheesy. Now here's what I like about the vehicle you're looking at. This is where you get peace of mind back. You've got warranty coverage, newer tech, better safety, and you're not waking up wondering what's going to break next. Or, I see you've had to replace brakes and tires recently. Those costs add up. With this next vehicle, you're stepping into something that's been inspected. It's reliable, and if something happens, you're covered. See, that's a different kind of peace. Next, create the emotional contrast. Make them feel the upgrade. This is where you paint the picture. Think about driving something with the latest tech, safety, features, and comfort. where it feels easy again. That contrast is what moves people because now it's not just trade value, it's pain versus peace. It's stress versus confidence. And it's old problems versus better life. So here's the bridge. Because the trade-in process now becomes bigger than a number. It becomes, let's move you from your current pain to your desired gain. And when you do that right, two things happen. They stop fighting you on every little dollar because they see the bigger win. You protect gross because you're selling value, not price. That's how professionals use the walkaround. Not to beat people up, but to guide them, to help them make a decision that actually improves their life. When you master trade justification, you're not just protecting gross, although trust me, you will protect gross. You're doing something bigger. You're building trust, you're lowering resistance, and you're keeping control of the deal without having to argue. And you're turning what's normally the most emotional, combative part of the sale into one of the smoothest parts of the process. Because think about it. Most customers walk into a dealership expecting to get beat up on their trade. They're already guarded, they're already defensive, and they already got a number in their head from the internet. And they're ready for war. So when you come in calm, professional, and transparent, when you walk it with them, show them the process, and justify the number with facts, something shifts. They go, okay, this isn't a game, this is real. And even if they don't love the number, they respect it. And when they respect it, they stop fighting you on every little thing. That's how you protect gross without being pushy. You become the professional they trust. Now, this is what it really does for you, though. You stop being just another salesperson. You become the guide. You become the consultant. You become the person they feel safe doing business with. And that matters because people don't come back to the dealership. They come back to the person. They remember how you made them feel. They remember if you were fair. They remember if you were transparent. And they remember if you treated them with respect. And this is how you create raving fans. When you handle the trade justification the right way, customers leave saying stuff like this. Man, that was the smoothest trade process I've ever been through. You actually explained it to me. I didn't feel pressured. I felt taken care of. That's a raving fan. And raving fans don't just buy, they refer. They send their family. They send their coworkers. They send their church friends, and they send everybody to you. So take this deeper approach. Use it every single time. Walk the trade. Gather the facts. Stay calm. Show the process. Use the data. And lead with empathy. And most importantly, only talk numbers when numbers are in front of you. Do that consistently, and I'm telling you, your trade closes will go up, your gross will go up, and your reputation will start to soar. Because now you're not selling, you're guiding.